This is a old and well-worn Murray lawnmower. And in all honesty, this thing is really right at the cusp of whether it's worth fixing it or not. I do know that it does run. Well, it did run when I first got it. It has compression. Plenty of compression, actually. But it needs a little bit of work. Now, at best, let's say I throw some new wheels on it, a new manual throttle control, or used everything, maybe clean the carb out and it runs. The bag is screwed up, so that dings a lot of my profit. But I might be able to get, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks for this, depending on, maybe if I throw some spray paint on it or not. But realistically, I'd probably get 25 or 30 and I'd be happy. And the first thing we will do is start taking this thing apart, see where we're at. Yeah, and they even take a proprietary air filter, which thankfully this one's still in good enough condition. We can just reuse it. We don't got to spend any money. And we'll take both of these off. Supposed to be another bolt here. And it even takes that old school cork gasket, which is still good. I think I may have another one of these. But again, these older Briggs motors, I don't really stock many parts for these just because I don't really get them in all that much. I might have another gasket for it, but we'll have to see. And I'll have to replace this thing too because it's lost its tension. In fact, I'll probably just slide it back just like that. And the fuel line is pretty bad, so I do have brand new fuel line that we can put in. That's not a huge deal. It is an annoyance though, definitely. And I completely forgot, but this model even has its own fuel shutoff valve, so we'll save that, size it up. There, you guys can see the valve now. It just goes right in through here. And now for the carburetor, which we'll have to remove that. So, to the workbench. And as I was saying before, I don't stock parts for these, for really any of the stuff from these older engines. They just never really come in. I never really see them. So, if I need to, I order stuff, but even that's rare. What's even interesting about these is they don't actually have a hole in them. So that doesn't act as a jet like on a normal Briggs. And there's definitely some corrosion deposits inside. Alright, so pull the float pan out. Hopefully I can save this thing. So you guys can see how much corrosion there is. I'm not really going to be able to clean off much of this. I can take my wire wheel that I have on my bench grinder and clean up the emulsion tube a bit, but I'm not going to really be able to do too much more than that. All the valves are working okay, but the main thing is to shoot some carb spray through those two holes here, and then the one that's all the way back there. Get some through here and through the needle seat. Clean out this tip, but first I'm going to take this to my bench grinder and hit it with the wire wheel. Alright, so I just did a quick and dirty cleaning and spray job. I took it to the bench grinder first and cleaned up a lot of the corrosion that I could get. I need to start using that wire wheel more because it does a damn good job of taking debris off flanges and whatever else. Really takes the work out of having to do that with a seal scraper. But anyway, so everything in here looks pretty good. I've already cleaned it out, as I just said. Really, there's no reason why this thing shouldn't work or run. What's kind of interesting is these actually have a manual throttle control on them, as well as what I'm guessing an idle mixture screw. At least settings for, the throttle. So you can even adjust it if you want. And I might have to do that, not too sure yet, but we'll kind of see where we go. So I did find in the hoard a ripped but good condition gasket that'll probably be okay, but it is ripped right here. So I'm going to try this out and see if it works. If not, I'll have to poke around for another one. I also cleaned up the mounting bolt for the bowl, and the inside of the bowl is already pretty clean, so I didn't really bother with that. I did carefully manage to pull out the gasket, and I do have other gaskets which are similar size, but I don't think they're 100% exact. But what I'm going to do is just kind of lay this in here, and it seems to fit okay. So I can only hope that it'll work. I don't really know until we stick some fuel in it and see what happens, but that's kind of the gamble that you have to play with some of this stuff. The float itself looks good, no cracks, no obvious damage. The needle looks good as well. So we'll throw all of that back in. And then the float pin. It's working as it should, so I'm not going to complain. Throw the bowl back on and hope we get a good seal with that new gasket. And it figures, but that little gasket broke. But I did manage to have another one, a used one albeit, but it fit and it's a little bit more sturdier. So hopefully that one works. If not, back to the drawing board. So back to the lawnmower. I'm gonna size up a new piece of fuel line and see if we can get this thing going again. So before we replace the manual choke lever, let's make sure this thing actually works. Well, it works. Needs some lube for sure, but first we're going to get rid of this old cable. See if we can't install a better one. Well, so I just put some gas in it, turn the valve on. So I remove that cable, manually choke it. That's promising. So I just shot a little bit of starting fluid into the carburetor. Full choke. So it actually runs pretty good, surprisingly. Now just to take off those ratty old wheels and throw the new ones on, and then figure out a way to get that manual throttle control onto it. I may have to do some modification with the handle to get it to accept it, but I might actually be able to put it right here. We'll see. Well, managed to find some good working hardware in the hoard. So does everything it should. It's full choke, and there's choke off. but realistically you're going to run it right about there. And of course the signage on the control is wrong, so all the way back it's, you know, full choke. I'm not really a huge fan of these plastic throttles. They break. In fact, I've seen a lot of these break over the years, and if I had a better one I'd probably install it, and if this was a better lawnmower I'd probably buy a better one if I didn't already have one. But I'm just doing some cable control right now. And now we'll see if we can swap out these wheels. All 4 new used wheels are on. It's actually a pretty straight mower. But all I'm doing now is going back together with everything. So as I said, this air filter is good, so we're just going to reinstall this. Doesn't need to be all that tight. So, install our top cord guard. And those don't need to be all that tight either. So, let me get this resituated and we'll give it its final start. Alright, so here it is, ready to go. So in total, other than putting oil in it, I don't think I spent any money on this thing. All the parts that I got, minus the oil, came out of the hoard. So I think we actually came out pretty good with this. Still need to clean it up some, maybe touch up the deck just a little bit, but I think surprisingly this thing turned out pretty good. And that's still working. It's not really a throttle. It's either full choke or off choke or turn off the engine. But we'll start it up with full choke. Pull cord's still in okay condition. Let's go ahead and start it. So I do still need to put a bolt into the side of the gas tank, and I don't know if this is just residual stuff or not. I think it is, but I'm going to keep an eye on this and make sure it's not leaking out of here, because sometimes they do that. And worst case scenario, I do have 2 more of these things over here in case I need to rob any parts. But I do want to get these working and going. I'm not really too sure how far I'm going to take this one. I might kind of do the same thing but sell it for a little bit less. And then there's this one, which I would love to restore this, but I need to figure out how much those parts are going to cost. But it does have everything, and I think I did get this one to turn over with starting fluid, so it shouldn't take too much to get this one going. But like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on this gas tank, make sure it's not leaking at all. And if it checks out good, or if I have to put another tank on it, that's what I'm going to have to do. So hopefully I can sell it and get rid of it, make some beer money. You all stay classy.